Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the stars through the main window. He had been in space for 15 years, but today felt different. Today, humanity would meet aliens for the first time. "Captain, we have incoming ships," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Hayes. "3 vessels, unknown design." Jake nodded. Earth scientists had been tracking strange signals from Jupiter's orbit for weeks. Now, it seemed, the signals had found them. "All hands, prepare for first contact," Jake announced over the ship's speakers. His crew of 42 moved quickly to their stations. They had trained for this moment, but nobody really knew what to expect. The alien ships were beautiful. They moved like water through space, their hulls shining with colors that seemed to change as Jake watched. The largest ship was twice the size of the horizon, but it moved with incredible grace. "They're sending a message," Ben said, his voice shaking slightly. "It's in English." Jake raised an eyebrow. "English?" "Yes, sir. They say they want to talk. They're asking permission to come aboard." Jake thought for a moment. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. "Tell them they can send a small group. We'll meet them in the main conference room." Dr. Lisa Rodriguez arrived on the bridge 20 minutes later. She was Earth's best expert on alien life, even though she had never seen any before today. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and she carried a tablet full of questions. "Are you ready for this, Doctor?" Jake asked. Lisa smiled nervously. "As ready as anyone can be for meeting aliens, I suppose." The alien shuttle was small and quiet. It landed in the Horizon's hangar bay without making a sound. Jake, Lisa, and 6 other crew members waited as the shuttle's door opened. The first alien to step out was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large, dark eyes. It wore a simple white robe and carried no weapons. Behind it came 2 more aliens, both shorter and wearing what looked like spacesuits. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the tall alien said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Council. We come in peace and friendship." Jake stepped forward. "Welcome aboard the UES Horizon. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. This is Dr. Lisa Rodriguez." Veltar looked at Jake with something that might have been surprise. "You are the ship's leader?" "Yes, I am." "And you are not afraid?" Jake frowned. "Should I be?" The 2 aliens behind Veltar seemed to move closer together. One of them was shaking slightly. "Perhaps we should sit and talk," Veltar said. "There is much to discuss." In the conference room, Veltar sat across from the humans. The other 2 aliens stayed standing, and Jake noticed they kept watching the humans very carefully. "First," Veltar said, "we must ask you some questions. Is it true that you live on Earth's surface?" "Yes," Lisa said. "Most humans live on the surface. Some live in cities, some in the countryside. And you drink the water there?" "Of course. We need water to live." "The unfiltered water? The water that falls from the sky?" Lisa looked confused. "You mean rain?" "Yes, we drink rainwater sometimes, though most people drink treated water from rivers and lakes." The 2 standing aliens made sounds that might have been gasps. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "And the gravity," Veltar continued. "How do you manage to move under such crushing force?" Jake looked at Lisa, then back at Veltar. "What do you mean? Earth's gravity is normal for us." "Normal?" Veltar stood up quickly, then sat down again. "Your planet's gravity is nearly twice what most species can survive. And you call it normal?" "I think there's been some confusion," Jake said. "Earth isn't that dangerous. People live there quite comfortably." Veltar reached into his robe and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed a list of planets with numbers next to them. "This is the Galactic Federation's planetary classification system," Veltar explained. "We classify worlds based on how dangerous they are to life. Class 1 worlds are paradise planets. Class 5 worlds are challenging but livable. Class 10 worlds are considered death traps." Jake studied the list. "Where does Earth rank?" Veltar pressed another button. Earth appeared on the display with a large red number next to it. 13. Class 13, Veltar said quietly. In the 5,000 years of galactic civilization, only 3 planets have ever been classified as Class 13 Deathworlds. The room was silent. Lisa stared at the number, her face pale. That's impossible, she said finally. Earth is a beautiful planet. We have forests, oceans, mountains. Children play outside every day. Children? One of the standing aliens spoke for the first time. You allow your young to go outside? Of course, Jake said. How else would they learn about the world? The alien made a sound like a sob. On my world, we must wear protective suits to go outside. The radiation from our sun would kill us in minutes without protection. But your sun is 10 times stronger and you let children play in its light. Veltar nodded sadly. Your planet's atmospheric pressure alone would crush most species. The temperature changes would kill us. The storms you call weather are more violent than our worst natural disasters. And yet you live there as if it were nothing. But we evolved there, Lisa said. We adapted to those conditions. Yes, Veltar said. That is what makes your species so remarkable. And so terrifying. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Terrifying? Captain Morrison, your species has survived and thrived on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. You have been shaped by forces that would destroy most life forms. You are stronger, more resilient, and more adaptable than any species we have ever encountered. The holographic display changed, showing images of other worlds. Jake saw planets covered in ice, planets with seas of acid, planets with skies that burned with constant lightning. These are the other Class 13 worlds, Veltar explained. This one killed an entire civilization when they tried to establish a research station. This one destroyed 3 separate colonization attempts, and this one has storms so violent that they can be seen from space. And Earth? Lisa asked. Earth is worse than all of them, Veltar said. Because Earth doesn't just kill visitors. Earth creates life forms that can survive anywhere. Earth creates humans. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside he could see Earth in the distance, blue and white and beautiful. It was hard to believe that other species saw it as a nightmare. What happens now? He asked. Now, Veltar said, we must decide what to do about humanity. Half the galaxy wants to quarantine your solar system. They believe you are too dangerous to be allowed to spread to other worlds. And the other half? The other half wants to learn from you. They believe that any species that can survive a Class 13 death world might be the key to exploring parts of the galaxy that have always been off limits. Lisa looked up from her tablet. You're saying that our home world, the place where we learn to walk and talk and love, is considered one of the most dangerous places in the universe? Yes, Dr. Rodriguez. That is exactly what we are saying. Jake turned back to the aliens. Then I guess we have a lot to talk about. Veltar nodded. Indeed we do, Captain Morrison. Indeed we do. As the meeting continued, Jake couldn't help but think about Earth. He thought about summer days and winter snow, about ocean storms and mountain winds. He thought about all the things that made Earth home. He had never imagined that home could be so frightening to others. Admiral Kevin Torres sat in his office at Earth Defense Command, reading reports that seemed impossible to believe. 3 weeks had passed since first contact with the aliens, and the galaxy's reaction to humanity was not what anyone had expected. Sir, we have another communication from the Galactic Federation, said his aide, Lieutenant Carol Phillips. 17 more species have requested emergency defense protocols around their home systems. Kevin rubbed his temples. Because of us? Yes, sir. They're afraid that humans might try to visit their worlds. Kevin laughed, but there was no humor in it. We haven't even figured out how to leave our own solar system safely, and they think we're going to invade theirs. The door to his office opened and Dr. Patricia Green walked in. She was a cultural expert who had been working with the alien visitors for weeks, trying to understand their fears. Admiral, you need to see this, Patricia said, setting her tablet on his desk. I've been studying the Federation's data on other species. The results are disturbing. Kevin looked at the screen. It showed charts comparing human physiology to other galactic species. What am I looking at? The average gravity tolerance for known species is 0.6 Earth standard, Patricia explained. Humans live comfortably at 1.0. That means our normal gravity would crush 60% of all known aliens. That's just gravity. It gets worse. The average atmospheric pressure tolerance is 0.4 Earth standard. Our air pressure would kill most species in hours, and the temperature ranges we consider normal would freeze or cook most aliens to death. Kevin studied the data. So, when they visit Earth, they have to wear full environmental suits just to survive. What we consider a pleasant spring day would be a death sentence for most of them. A knock came at the door. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Parker entered, looking tired but excited. "Admiral, the alien military observers are here for the demonstration," Steve said. Kevin nodded. The Federation had asked to see human military capabilities. Steve was going to show them basic survival training. How many observers? 12 species, 23 individuals total. They're all wearing heavy protection suits. The demonstration took place in the training facility outside Denver. Kevin and Patricia watched from the observation deck as Steve led a group of human soldiers through what they called basic exercises. The alien observers stood behind thick protective glass, speaking in worried voices through their translators. Steve began with simple calisthenics, push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, the kinds of exercises that human children did in school. "By the stars," one alien observer said, its translator making its voice sound mechanical. "They are lifting their entire body weight repeatedly, and they appear to be doing it for pleasure," another added. Steve's team moved on to running. They jogged around a 1-mile track at what humans considered an easy pace. "How fast are they moving?" an alien asked. "Approximately 15 kilometers per hour," someone answered. "Impossible. No species can maintain that speed for more than a few seconds." But the humans kept running, mile after mile, their pace never slowing. Next came the obstacle course. Steve's team climbed walls, crawled under barriers, and swung across gaps using nothing but rope. "They are climbing vertical surfaces," an observer whispered, "without mechanical assistance." "Look at their hands," another said. "They are supporting their full body weight with just their fingers." The final part of the demonstration was survival skills. Steve showed the aliens how humans could make fire, find water, and build shelter using only basic tools. "This is our standard wilderness survival course," Steve explained to the observers. "Every soldier learns these skills." "Standard?" an alien asked. "You mean all human warriors can do these things?" "Not just warriors," Steve said. "Many civilians learn these skills too. We call it camping. Families do it for fun." Several aliens had to sit down. One required medical attention. Dr. Helen Carter was having her own revelations in the economic sector. She sat in her laboratory surrounded by everyday human objects that had become the galaxy's most sought-after items. "This is incredible," she told her assistant, Dr. Mark Johnson. "A simple bottle of aspirin is selling for more than gold on some worlds." Mark picked up a first aid kit. "And this? They're calling it Deathworld medical technology. The bidding started at 10,000 galactic credits." Helen shook her head. "These are things we buy at grocery stores. That's what makes it so valuable to them. We mass-produce survival gear that they consider miraculous." A communication came in from the Centauri trade station. Helen opened the A1 message and read it aloud. "Desperate need for Earth-manufactured adhesive bandages. Will pay any price. Please respond immediately." It's signed by the hegemony of Keth. Mark looked confused. "Band-aids?" Apparently the idea of a medical device that sticks to skin and promotes healing is revolutionary to them. Helen pulled up another message. This one is asking for bottled water. They want to study how humans can drink unprocessed natural liquid without dying. Water? To them, pure H2O is a dangerous chemical. Most species need their water heavily filtered and processed. Meanwhile, on the alien observation ship, Ambassador Veltar was having emergency meetings with representatives from across the galaxy. The situation is becoming critical, said Commander Zix of the Mollusk Confederation. My people are demanding that we evacuate the outer colonies. They believe the humans will spread across the galaxy like a plague. The humans have shown no aggressive intentions, Veltar replied calmly. Aggressive intentions? Zix's tentacles writhed with agitation. They don't need to be aggressive. They could colonize our world simply by walking on them. We would die and they would thrive. General Krex of the Silicon Alliance spoke up. My government wants to offer the humans a partnership. If they can survive on worlds we consider uninhabitable, they could help us expand our territory. Absolutely not, said Minister Floop of the Gas Giant Coalition. These creatures are too dangerous. We should quarantine their entire system. Veltar looked around the room at the gathered representatives. Fear and opportunity warred in their expressions. Has anyone actually asked the humans what they want? He said finally. The room fell silent. Back on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison was discovering just how different human thinking was from the rest of the galaxy. He sat with Dr. Lisa Rodriguez in the same conference room where they had first met the Yao Xiao aliens. They're afraid of us, Lisa said, reading the latest Federation reports, genuinely terrified. I can understand being cautious, Jake replied, but we're not monsters. To them, we might as well be. Look at this medical report. Lisa showed him her tablet. It says that human bone density is 3 times galactic average. Our muscle fibers are twice as strong. Our cardiovascular system can function under stress that would kill most species. Jake read the report. It makes us sound like we're built for war. Maybe we are. Not by choice, but by necessity. Earth forced us to become strong, or die. A new message appeared on Lisa's tablet. She read it and her face went pale. What is it? It's from the Federation Science Council. They want to study us. Study us how? Lisa kept reading. They want to understand how humans developed such extreme physical capabilities. They're offering to trade technology for the right to conduct genetic and biological research on human volunteers. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Earth hung in space below them, beautiful and blue and home. They see us as lab rats, he said, or as the key to unlocking parts of the universe they never thought they could explore. Jake turned back to Lisa. What do you think we should do? I think we need to show them that we're not just strong survivors. We need to show them that we're good people who want to help. And if they don't believe us, Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then we might find ourselves alone in the galaxy, the only species too dangerous for anyone else to trust. Jake looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, entire civilizations were debating whether humanity was a threat or an opportunity. The decision they made would shape the future of both humanity and the galaxy itself. He had never imagined that being human could be so complicated. Ambassador Claire Johnson stepped off the shuttle onto Kepler Prime, the neutral world where the Galactic Federation held its most important meetings. The artificial gravity felt lighter than Earth normal, and the air tasted strange even through her breathing mask. Remember, said her aide, Commander Rick Davis, most of the representatives have never seen a human in person. They only know what they've heard. Claire nodded. She had been chosen to represent humanity at the Grand Assembly because of her diplomatic experience, but nothing had prepared her for this. 47 different species would decide humanity's fate today. The assembly hall was enormous, built to accommodate beings of vastly different sizes and needs. Some representatives floated in water tanks, others hung from the ceiling in specialized harnesses. Many wore full environmental suits. As Claire entered, conversation stopped. Hundreds of alien eyes focused on her, and she could hear the whispers of their translators. That's her. That's the human. Look how it moves. So heavy, so solid. Are we sure it's safe to have it here? Claire took her seat at the designated human section. A force field surrounded her chair, she noticed. For her protection or theirs, she wondered. The assembly leader, a tall being that looked like a tree made of crystal, called the session to order. We are here to discuss the classification of Earth and the future of human contact with galactic civilization, it announced. Ambassador Johnson will present humanity's case. Claire stood up, and several representatives moved back in their seats. Honored beings of the galaxy, she began, I come before you not as a representative of a dangerous species, but as someone who wants nothing more than peace and friendship with all of you. A representative from the insectoid collective raised a claw. How can you speak of peace when your very existence is violence? Your bodies are weapons designed by the cruelest planet in known space. Our bodies are tools for survival, Claire replied. Yes, we are strong. Yes, we are resilient, but we use that strength to help others, not to harm them. Prove it, said another voice. This came from the Aquatic Republic's representative, speaking from inside its water tank. Claire had hoped they would ask for proof. I would like to call Dr. Marcus Lee to speak about human medicine. Dr. Marcus Lee entered the hall carrying a medical kit. He was a trauma surgeon from Chicago, and he had volunteered to help demonstrate human medical capabilities. Honored representatives, Marcus began. I want to show you something that we consider normal medical practice on Earth. He opened his kit and pulled out a blood bag. Several aliens gasped. This contains human blood, he explained. On Earth, healthy humans regularly donate their blood to help others who are injured or sick. The crystal being who led the assembly made a sound like wind chimes. You voluntarily remove your life essence to give to others? About 6 million humans donate blood every year in my country alone, Marcus said. We also donate organs like kidneys, parts of our liver, even pieces of our skin to help others heal. Impossible, whispered the insectoid representative. No species willingly damages itself for others. Marcus smiled. We also have something called bone marrow donation. Humans volunteer to have their bones drilled so that others can survive diseases. The hall erupted in shocked voices. Several representatives had to be given medical attention. And this is considered normal on your world? Asked the assembly leader. Normal and praised, Marcus replied. We consider it one of the highest forms of human behavior. Next, Claire called Captain Nicole Davis to demonstrate human physical capabilities. Nicole was a former military officer who had volunteered to show the assembly what humans could actually do. I understand many of you have concerns about human physical strength, Nicole said. I'd like to show you what we're really capable of. She began with simple exercises, push-ups, jumping jacks, basic stretches. To the watching aliens, it looked like impossible feats of strength and endurance. This is our basic fitness routine, Nicole explained as she did 50 push-ups without breathing hard. Human children do these exercises in school. Children? The aquatic representative's voice was filled with horror. You force your young to perform these torture rituals? We don't force them, Nicole laughed. Most kids enjoy it. We call it playing. She moved on to weightlifting, easily lifting barbells that weighed more than some of the smaller alien representatives. On Earth, this is considered light exercise, she said. Many humans do this for relaxation after work. The assembly watched in stunned silence as Nicole completed her demonstration. She wasn't even breathing hard. Then Engineer Paul Mitchell took the stage. He carried a toolbox that looked ordinary to human eyes but seemed impossibly advanced to the aliens. These are standard Earth tools, Paul explained, pulling out a hammer. This is designed for basic construction work. He demonstrated by driving a nail into a piece of wood with a few easy strikes. The sound echoed through the hall like gunshots. The force required for that action would shatter most galactic materials, observed the Silicon Alliance representative. Paul nodded. Earth construction requires tools that can withstand extreme conditions. High winds, earthquakes, temperature changes. What we consider normal building standards would qualify as military fortifications on most worlds. He showed them a simple screwdriver, explaining how the torque requirements for Earth fasteners exceeded the strength capabilities of most alien species. And this, Paul said, holding up a utility knife, is carried by most human workers for basic tasks. The blade extended with a sharp click. Half the assembly ducked for cover. It's just for cutting cardboard and rope, Paul said quickly. The demonstration was interrupted by alarms. Emergency lights flashed throughout the assembly hall, and automated voices announced a security breach. Terrorist attack, the assembly leader announced. The Purist Coalition has breached the station's defenses. All representatives must evacuate immediately. Chaos erupted. Aliens rushed for the exits, many struggling to move quickly in their environmental suits. Security forces tried to maintain order, but they were overwhelmed. Claire saw immediately that the evacuation was going badly. The aliens' different physiologies and environmental needs made quick movement almost impossible. Several representatives had fallen and couldn't get up. "We have to help them," she said to her team. Commander Rick Davis looked at the panicking aliens. "Our orders are to evacuate with everyone else." "Look at them," Claire said. "They can't move fast enough. They'll be trapped." Without waiting for permission, Claire ran toward a group of fallen representatives. Nicole and Marcus followed her, with Paul close behind. They found 3 aliens trapped under debris from a damaged section of ceiling. The aliens were too weak to lift the wreckage, and the rescue equipment was designed for their limited strength. Nicole grabbed the largest piece of debris and lifted it easily. Marcus immediately began treating the injured aliens with supplies from his medical kit. "You're helping us," one of the trapped aliens said in amazement. "But we voted to quarantine your species." "That doesn't matter right now," Claire replied, helping to clear more debris. Paul used his tools to cut through twisted metal that had trapped another alien. The basic construction tools sliced through the wreckage like it was paper. As the human team worked, other aliens stopped fleeing and watched. They saw humans risking their lives to save beings who had spent the day discussing whether humans were too dangerous to exist. The security forces arrived to find the humans coordinating the rescue effort. They had organized the evacuation, treated the wounded, and cleared the debris that trapped the most vulnerable representatives. "The attack has been stopped," announced the security chief. "All threats have been neutralized." As the assembly reconvened hours later, the mood had changed completely. The representatives who had been rescued by humans sat quietly, many still wearing bandages applied by Dr. Marcus Lee. The assembly leader spoke first. "Today we have seen what humans truly are. Not monsters from a death world, but beings who run toward danger to help others." The insectoid representative, one of those rescued by the human team, raised a claw. "I withdraw my motion for quarantine. Any species that would risk their lives for strangers who fear them deserves our respect, not our fear." One by one, other representatives spoke. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something new. Admiration. Claire stood to address the assembly one final time. "We don't want to be feared. We don't want to conquer your worlds or replace your species. We want to be your friends, your allies, your partners in exploring the galaxy." "But what can you offer us?" asked the aquatic representative. "What good can come from a friendship with Deathworld survivors?" Claire smiled. "We can go places you can't. We can survive in conditions that would kill you. We can be your eyes and hands in the dangerous parts of the galaxy that you've always wanted to explore, but never could." The vote was unanimous. Humanity would join the Galactic Federation not as prisoners or threats, but as partners. They would be the ones who went to the dangerous places, who faced the impossible challenges, who opened new frontiers for all galactic civilization. General Katie Williams received the emergency message while she was reviewing reports at Federation Command. The words on her screen made her stomach drop. "Research Station Alpha 7 has gone silent on Tartarus 7. Last transmission received 18 hours ago. Immediate rescue required." Her aide, Colonel Frank Miller, looked over her shoulder at the message. "Tartarus 7? That's a Class 11 death world." Katie nodded grimly. She had studied the classification chart since joining the Federation. Class 11 worlds were considered completely unsurvivable by galactic standards. No non-death world species had ever successfully landed on one and returned alive. "How many researchers were stationed there?" she asked. 23 scientists from 7 different species, Frank replied, checking his tablet. They were studying the planet's mineral deposits from an orbital station, but something went wrong with their atmospheric processors. Katie stood up and walked to the window of her office. Outside, she could see the blue curve of Earth in the distance. 6 months ago, she had thought Earth was just a normal planet. Now she knew it was tougher than almost anything else in the galaxy. "Prep a rescue team," she ordered. "We're going to Tartarus 7. "Ma'am, the Federation Council hasn't approved any rescue missions. They say it's too dangerous." Katie turned back to Frank with a hard expression. "Those scientists are dying while the Council debates. We don't wait for permission to save lives." 2 hours later, the rescue ship UES Determination launched from Earth orbit. General Williams had assembled a team of 12 humans, all volunteers who understood the risks. Dr. Tony Garcia was the team's biologist. He specialized in extreme environments and had spent years studying life in Earth's deepest ocean trenches and most toxic volcanic regions. "What do we know about Tartarus 7? He asked as the ship approached the planet. Rachel Turner, their survival expert, pulled up the planetary data. Surface gravity 1.3 Earth standard, atmospheric pressure 2.1 standard, average temperature 47 degrees Celsius, constant acid rain with a pH of 2.8. Tony whistled. Acid rain that strong would eat through most materials. Not to mention the atmospheric composition, Rachel continued. Oxygen content is only 12%, and there are high levels of sulfur compounds. Sergeant Alex Murphy, who led the ground team, looked up from checking his equipment. "Sounds like a Tuesday in Detroit." The other humans laughed. To them, Tartarus 7 sounded challenging but not impossible. They had trained in conditions almost as harsh on Earth. As the Determination entered Tartarus 7's atmosphere, the ship's sensors went wild. Lightning storms raged across the surface and the acid rain hammered against their hull. "Landing site located," announced the pilot, Lieutenant Diana Ross. "The research station is built into a cliff face about 2 kilometers from our landing zone." "Why so far?" Alex asked. "Because that's as close as we can land without the ground dissolving under us," Diana replied. The ship touched down on a rocky plateau that steamed with toxic vapors. Through the viewports, the humans could see a landscape that looked like something from Earth's most violent nightmares. "Atmospheric readings confirm the data," Tony said, studying his instruments. "This place would kill most galactic species in minutes." "Good thing we're not most species," Alex said, checking his breathing apparatus. The humans didn't need full environmental suits like other species would. Their equipment was more like enhanced hiking gear. The rescue team stepped out onto Tartarus, HFY's surface. The gravity felt heavy but manageable, like wearing a weighted vest during exercise. The acid rain stung exposed skin but didn't cause serious damage. "Teams of 3, Alex ordered. "Stay in visual contact. We follow the beacon signal to the research station." They hiked across the broken landscape, stepping carefully around pools of bubbling acid and avoiding the worst of the lightning strikes. To the humans, it felt like a dangerous camping trip. "Movement ahead," called out Private Lisa Chen, pointing to a cluster of twisted metal structures. The research station looked like it had been through a war. Parts of the outer hull had been eaten away by the acid rain, and several sections had collapsed. "Hello?" Alex called through his radio. "This is the Earth Rescue Team. Is anyone alive in there?" A weak voice answered immediately. "Thank the stars. We're trapped in the main laboratory. The outer doors are sealed." "How many survivors?" Rachel asked. 15 of us are still alive. But we're running out of breathable air. Our atmospheric processors failed 2 days ago." Dr. Benjamin Clark, the team's medical officer, stepped forward. "What's your current atmospheric composition?" "Oxygen at 8% and falling. Carbon dioxide at 12%. We have maybe 6 hours of breathable air left." Ben looked at his teammates. "The atmosphere they're breathing would be toxic to us too, but we can hold our breath longer than they can survive without air." "How do we get to them?" Tony asked, studying the station's layout on his scanner. "The main entrance is blocked by debris," Alex said, "but there's a ventilation shaft on the upper level." They climbed the outside of the research station like it was a jungle gym. The acid rain made the metal slippery, but the humans' grip strength and balance let them navigate the dangerous surface. "Here," Rachel called out, finding the ventilation entrance, but it's a tight fit. Alex looked at the opening. It was barely wide enough for a human to squeeze through. Good thing we're built for tight spaces. One by one, the rescue team crawled through the ventilation system. The air inside was thick and toxic, but the humans could hold their breath for minutes at a time. They dropped into the main laboratory and found the alien scientists huddled together in a corner. The survivors looked terrible. Their breathing was shallow and several had collapsed from oxygen deprivation. "We're here to get you out," Ben announced, immediately starting to treat the worst cases. "Impossible," wheezed one of the scientists, a being that looked like a giant insect. "The atmospheric conditions outside would kill us in seconds." "Not if we carry you," Alex said. The alien scientists stared at the humans in disbelief. To carry someone through Tartarus VII's hostile environment seemed impossible. "We'll put you in emergency pods," Rachel explained, pulling collapsible rescue containers from her pack. "We can carry you to the ship." "Carry us?" another scientist gasped. "Through that hellscape?" "We've carried heavier loads in worse conditions," Alex said simply. The rescue took 4 hours. The humans made multiple trips, carrying the alien scientists in protective containers through the acid rain and toxic atmosphere. Each trip covered 2 kilometers of dangerous terrain. To the alien scientists, it was a miracle. To the humans, it was hard work but nothing they couldn't handle. Back aboard the Determination, Dr. Clark treated the survivors while the ship lifted off from Tartarus VII. "I don't understand," said one of the rescued scientists, a small mammal-like being. "How did you survive out there? The radiation levels alone should have killed you." "High radiation?" Tony checked his readings. "This was actually lower than what we get at high altitude on Earth. But the atmospheric pressure was like being under about 60 feet of water," Diana said from the pilot's seat. "Uncomfortable, but not deadly." "And the gravity? Like wearing a heavy backpack," Alex replied. The alien scientist was quiet for a long moment. "What you call wearing a heavy backpack would crush most of us. What you call uncomfortable pressure would collapse our organs. What you consider high altitude levels of radiation would cause immediate cellular damage." Ben finished treating the last patient and sat down. "I guess growing up on Earth gives you a different perspective on what's dangerous." "This changes everything," whispered another scientist. "If humans can work on Class 11 Deathworlds, then entire sections of the galaxy that we thought were permanently off-limits could be explored," Tony finished. "We could set up research stations, mining operations, even colonies on worlds that other species can't even visit." The rescued scientists looked at each other with expressions of wonder and fear. "Your species," one of them said slowly, "could unlock half the galaxy." When the Determination returned to Federation space, news of the successful rescue spread instantly. The galaxy learned that humans had not only survived on a Class 11 Deathworld, but had carried out a complex rescue operation in conditions that would kill any other known species. Emergency meetings were called on dozens of worlds. The Galactic Economic Council began calculating the value of previously unreachable resources. The Scientific Federation started planning expeditions to worlds they had never dared approach, but it was the military implications that worried some species most. If humans could operate on Deathworlds, they could reach places where no one could follow them. They could build bases on planets that would serve as perfect fortresses. Yet the rescue mission had proven something important. When faced with beings in danger, humans didn't calculate profit or strategic advantage. They simply acted to save lives. General Williams received dozens of requests within hours of returning. Every major power in the galaxy wanted to hire human teams for expeditions to dangerous worlds. "What do you think?" Frank asked, reviewing the requests. Katie looked out at the stars, thinking about the implications. "I think we're about to become very busy, and the galaxy is about to become a much bigger place." Captain Danny Roberts stood on the bridge of the UES Explorer, watching as his mixed crew of humans and aliens worked together. 6 months had passed since the Tartarus VII rescue, and everything had changed. "Captain, we're approaching the Kepler 442 system," announced his navigation officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster. "The survey team is ready for deployment." Danny nodded. The Explorer was humanity's first joint exploration vessel, designed to carry both human and alien crew members safely. It was part of the new Galactic Frontier Initiative, with humans leading expeditions to previously unreachable worlds. "How many planets in this system were classified as too dangerous to explore?" he asked. "3 Class 9 worlds and 1 Class 12, replied his science officer, Dr. Michelle Adams. She was a biologist who had joined the new Comparative Environment Institute, studying how Earth's conditions had shaped human evolution. "And now they're just Tuesday," Michelle smiled. The bridge crew laughed. It had become a running joke among humans. What other species considered impossible death traps, humans called Tuesday? The first planet they surveyed was covered in ice and swept by constant blizzards. The surface temperature was minus 60 degrees Celsius, and the wind speeds reached 200 kilometers per hour. "Atmospheric composition is 90% nitrogen, 8% oxygen," reported Dr. Carlos Martinez, the team's atmospheric specialist. "Pressure is 3.2 Earth standard. Sounds like a winter day in Antarctica," commented Sergeant Lucy Grant, who led the ground exploration team. The alien observers watched in amazement as the human team prepared for surface operations. They wore insulated suits that looked almost casual compared to the massive environmental protection systems other species would need. "You're actually going down there?" asked Dr. Vexhai, a reptilian scientist from the Thermal Coalition. Even inside the heated ship, he wore a warming suit to survive. "Of course," Lucy replied, checking her equipment. "Someone needs to take soil samples." The human team spent 3 days on the ice planet's surface, setting up research stations and collecting data. They moved easily through conditions that would freeze most alien species solid in minutes. When they returned, Dr. Vexhai stared at them in disbelief. "You look refreshed." "Fresh air and exercise," Lucy said cheerfully. "Nothing like a good hike in the snow." The second planet presented different challenges. It was a volcanic world with constant earthquakes and lakes of molten sulfur. The atmosphere was thick with toxic gases, and geysers of superheated steam erupted without warning. "Surface temperature varies between 85 and 120 degrees Celsius, Michelle reported. "Sulfur dioxide levels would be lethal to most species." "Good thing we're not most species," Danny said. The human geological team spent a week on the volcanic planet, mapping mineral deposits and studying the unique ecosystem that had evolved around the sulfur vents. They worked in conditions that would cook most aliens alive. Dr. Zektor, an aquatic being from the Deep Current Collective, watched the video feeds from his environmental tank. "They're walking on molten rock, cooled volcanic glass," corrected Dr. Ryan Bell, the team's geologist. "Perfectly safe if you watch your step." "Safe?" Zektor's translator made his voice sound strangled. "The surface temperature would boil my body fluids." "Well, that's why we wear heat-resistant suits," Ryan said reasonably. But the real test came with the third planet. The Federation had classified it as Class 12, making it one of the most dangerous worlds ever discovered. It had crushing gravity, a poisonous atmosphere, radiation levels that could kill in hours, and predatory life forms that had evolved to survive in conditions no other known species could endure. "Gravity is 2.1 Earth standard," Amy reported as they approached the planet. "Atmospheric pressure is 4.7 standard. Radiation levels are significant." "How significant?" Danny asked. "About the same as standing next to an unshielded nuclear reactor." The alien crew members began preparing for emergency evacuation. Several requested to be transferred to the backup ship that followed at a safe distance. "You can't seriously be planning to land there," said Commander Thiss of the Crystalline Authority. "The radiation alone would sterilize any life form." "Any normal life form," Michelle corrected. "But humans aren't exactly normal." The landing team consisted of 8 volunteers, led by Major Bob Wilson. They wore enhanced radiation suits that would allow them to work on the planet's surface for up to 12 hours. "Remember," Bob told his team as they prepared to descend, "this isn't Earth. The local wildlife might actually be dangerous. The planet's surface looked like something from humanity's worst nightmares. The sky burned with radiation auroras. Strange creatures moved through pools of liquid metal. The ground itself seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. Radiation readings are within acceptable limits, reported Dr. Jane Moore, the team's medical officer. We can work here safely for about 10 hours. 10 hours? Commander Theis's voice was barely a whisper. You'll be dead in 10 minutes. But the humans weren't dead. They explored the planet methodically, collecting samples and documenting the bizarre life forms they encountered. The local predators, evolved to survive impossible conditions, seemed almost timid compared to humans. Contact with local fauna, Bob reported over the radio. It's about the size of a bear with acid for blood and metal teeth. Hostile? Danny asked from orbit. Hard to say. It looked at us and ran away. The exploration of the Class 12 world took 5 days. The human team established a temporary research base, mapped the major geographical features, and collected enough data to fill libraries. When they returned to the ship, the alien crew members stared at them as if they were ghosts. Impossible, whispered Dr. Vexhai. The readings show you were exposed to lethal radiation for days. Lethal for you, maybe, Jane replied, checking her medical scanner. We got about the same radiation dose as a chest X-ray. The implications spread across the galaxy within hours. If humans could work safely on Class 12 Deathworlds, entire sectors of space that had been written off as permanently uninhabitable could be explored and potentially colonized. Emergency sessions were called in the Federation Council. Economic projections were recalculated. Military strategists redrew their maps of galactic power. But the most significant meeting took place in a small conference room aboard the Explorer. Dr. Michelle Adams sat with representatives from 12 different species discussing the establishment of permanent research facilities on worlds previously thought impossible to reach. We could set up mining operations on the thermal worlds, suggested the Silicon Alliance representative. The rare elements there could power our civilization for millennia, and the ice worlds could serve as training grounds for deep space exploration, added the Crystalline Authority delegate. But what about the most dangerous worlds? Asked Dr. Zector. The Class 13 and higher death worlds? Michelle smiled. Those are where things get really interesting. She activated a holographic display showing a planet that made their recent explorations look like vacation destinations. This is Xerion Prime, Class 15 Death World. The Federation discovered it 2 centuries ago but never attempted contact. The alien representatives stared at the readings in horror. Xerion Prime had gravity that would crush most beings, an atmosphere of pure acid, surface temperatures that melted metal, and radiation levels that could sterilize entire star systems. Nothing could survive there, breathed the Thermal Coalition. Representative. Nothing has survived there, Michelle corrected. But the planet isn't empty. Our long-range scans show artificial structures, ruins of a civilization that not only survived a Class 15 death world, but built cities on it. The room fell silent. You're suggesting, Dr. Vexhai began, that there might be others like us out there, Michelle finished. Species that evolved on worlds so dangerous they make Earth look like a paradise, and we might be the only ones who can reach them. 6 months later, the UES Determination 2 launched toward Xerion Prime. Admiral Samantha Brooks commanded humanity's largest exploration fleet, carrying the most advanced equipment Earth could build. As the ships prepared to leave the solar system, Admiral Brooks stood in her ready room looking at a picture of Earth. The blue and white planet that had once seemed so beautiful and peaceful now looked different to her. She could see the storms that raged across its surface, the radiation that poured down from its sun, the crushing gravity that had shaped every human who ever lived. Earth was a death world, a place so dangerous that most of the galaxy couldn't even visit it safely. But it was also home. It was the forge that had hammered humanity into something unique in the galaxy. Admiral, her communications officer called. We're receiving a message from Earth. President Martinez wants to speak. With you? Samantha smiled. Put him through. The president's face appeared on her screen. Behind him she could see the familiar blue sky of Earth, with white clouds drifting peacefully overhead. "Good luck out there, Admiral," he said. "Bring back some new friends." As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, Samantha thought about the irony of their situation. Humanity had spent decades dreaming of finding their place among the stars. They had imagined being the students, learning from older and wiser civilization,